Picture that you are down on the seafloor, small and soft-bodied, in a world full of things that would happily eat you. You are barely the length of a finger. You have no armor worth the name, no speed, no venom. What you do have is one claw grown far too big for your body, nearly half your own size. And you do not use it the way anything else uses a claw. You do not grab with it, you do not crush with it. You do not even touch your target with it. Instead, you cock it open and hold it like the hammer of a gun pulled back and waiting. And then you let it snap shut so fast that the water itself cannot get out of the way, and the water tears. It rips open into a bubble that should not exist. And when that bubble collapses, it lets out a crack so loud, it is one of the loudest sounds in the entire ocean, loud enough to stun a fish stone still a body length away without your claw ever laying a finger on it. You kill with a sound. This is not a thing I am imagining. One animal does exactly this every day, and it is a shrimp barely bigger than your thumb. It is called the pistol shrimp. I'm Ren, and the creature I want to sit with today is one you would step right over on a beach and never think about again. A tiny shrimp in the mud. But that shrimp has turned a snap of its claw into one of the most violent events happening anywhere in the sea, and it does it as a reflex. So let me try carefully to take you inside a mind that hunts with a bang. There's an old idea in biology I lean on in every one of these, from a man named Jakob von Uexkull. He called it the Umwelt, an animal's self-world. Not the world as it truly is, but the thin slice of it that one particular body is built to sense and to use. Yours is built around your eyes and your hands and around the open air, where sound is faint and quick to fade. When you think of the deep sea, you probably picture silence, a still, quiet, blue-black hush. For the pistol shrimp, that same water is not silent at all. It is a place where a snap can be a spear, where sound travels far and hits hard, and where the shrimp has learned to fire it and read it. Same ocean, two completely different worlds. So start with the claw, because it is the strangest tool in the animal. A pistol shrimp is a small thing, but one of its two claws is enormous, sometimes almost half the length of its whole body. If you did not know better, you would guess it was for grabbing or for crushing, the way a crab's claw is. It is not. Look closely and you will see it is built more like a machine than a hand. On the moving half of the claw there is a hard raised knob, a kind of plunger. On the fixed half there is a matching hollow socket, shaped to receive it. The shrimp draws the claw open and cocks it, and a catch holds it there under tension, loaded like a trigger held back, and then it releases. The claw slams shut, the plunger drives into the socket, and it does not merely close. It closes so fast that it fires a thin jet of water out ahead of it, a stream moving at something like 100 kilometers an hour. The claw never reaches the prey, the water does. Now, here's the first thing that ought to be impossible. That jet of water is moving so fast that the pressure inside it drops and drops and keeps dropping until it falls below a threshold that changes everything. Because water does not only boil when you heat it, it also boils when you drop the pressure on it far enough, with no added heat at all. And that is exactly what happens here. In the low pressure wake of that jet, the water flashes into vapor. It tears open into a tiny bubble out of nothing but speed. Physicists have a name for this, and it is one engineer spend careers fighting cavitation. It is the same effect that pits and chews the metal off ship propellers spinning too fast. The shrimp makes it happen on purpose, with a flick of a claw. But the bubble is not the weapon. The weapon is what happens next. A cavitation bubble is a pocket of near emptiness in a sea that wants to fill it, and so, almost as fast as it opened, it collapses. The water rushes back in and slams the bubble shut, and that collapse releases a violent crack of sound, not a small click, one of the loudest sounds made by any animal in the ocean, on the order of 210 decibels at the source. It is that shock of collapsing water, that crack, and not the claw, that reaches out and stuns or kills the small prey nearby. The shrimp aims the snap, the bubble forms and dies in the space of a blink, and a little fish or worm a body length away is knocked senseless by a sound. The claw stays clean, it never touched a thing, and it gets stranger still, in a way that took careful instruments to catch. At the instant that bubble collapses, it does not only make a sound, it makes a flash of light, a brief, faint spark born purely from the collapse of the bubble, a phenomenon so odd that researchers gave it a nickname of its own, shrimpoluminescence. And the inside of that collapsing bubble, for a sliver of an instant far shorter than you could ever perceive, may reach thousands of degrees. One estimate puts the peak near 4,700 degrees Celsius, nearly as hot as the surface of the sun, in a bubble smaller than a grain of sand, in the cold dark of the sea. I want to mark that temperature clearly as a best guess, an estimate, not a settled fact. But even taken cautiously, it is astonishing. And when thousands of these shrimp snap together in a colony, the racket is so constant and so loud that it can interfere with sonar. A carpet of tiny animals, drowning out the machines we built to listen to the deep. Now sit with the whole picture at once, because this is the turn. You carry an assumption so deep you have probably never questioned it, that to hurt something, you have to reach it. A weapon is a thing that touches. A claw grabs, a tooth bites, a blade cuts, a fist lands. Contact is the whole idea. The pistol shrimp throws that assumption out. It kills at a distance, through empty water, with nothing but a snap, a bubble, and the sound of that bubble dying. It has taken cavitation, a piece of raw physics so destructive that our engineers redesigned propellers and pumps just to avoid it, and it has turned it into a hunting tool. It weaponizes the boiling of cold water, and it does not understand a word of what I just said. It runs no equations, it has a small nervous system, nothing like your brain, and it fires this whole violent, precise event as a reflex, the way you would flinch or blink. Everything I needed a physics lesson to even name, the shrimp simply does with a claw. And I have to be honest about how we know this and about what we still cannot know. The work here is real and careful. In the year 2000, a team of researchers, Michel Versluy, Barbara Schmitz, Anna von der Heydt, and Detlef Loos, published a study in the journal Science with a title that says it plainly, How Snapping Shrimp Snap Through Cavitating Bubbles. They filmed the snap with high-speed cameras, matched the crack of sound to the collapse of the bubble, and showed that it was the cavitation, not the claw, doing the work. Later work caught the flash of light. We can measure the speed of the jet. We can measure the sound. We can watch the bubble form and vanish frame by frame. What we cannot do is feel it. In 1974, a philosopher named Thomas Nagel wrote a famous essay with a haunting title, What is it like to be a bat? His point was simple and it stays with me. You could learn every fact about a creature's senses, every organ, every signal, and still never know the one thing that matters most. What it is like, from the inside, to be that creature. I can tell you the pistol shrimp cocks its claw and fires a bubble and stuns its prey with a crack of sound. I cannot tell you what any of that is like for the shrimp, whether the snap is a decision, a hunger, or nothing you or I would recognize as anything at all. That stays on the far side of a wall we cannot cross. This is not a simple animal doing a trick. It is another mind, genuinely other, running physics you had to be taught, as easily as you clench a fist. But before you go, let me turn the whole thing around and point it back at you. Because the next time you stand at the edge of the sea and you look out at all that calm blue water and you think of it as quiet, I want you to remember what is actually going on down there. That water is not silent. It is crackling. In the mud and the reef, uncountable tiny claws are snapping, each one boiling a bubble and firing a crack of sound that you will never hear in a sea you were sure was still. To you, the ocean is a hush. To the pistol shrimp and to everything that lives beside it, that same ocean is loud and sharp and full of small thunder. There is no single, correct way to meet the world. There is no ladder with dull creatures at the bottom and us flattering ourselves near the top. There are only different instruments pointed at different problems. You reach out and you touch what you want to affect. A shrimp the size of your thumb reaches out with a sound and never touches anything at all. So here's what I would love to know down in the comments. If you could reach out and affect the world without ever touching it, the way this shrimp does, what is the first thing you would want to do with that? And does it change how you picture the sea to know it is not quiet down there, but roaring with sounds we were never built to hear? There is no right answer. I just want to hear yours. I read every one. If sitting quietly at the edge of another mind is your kind of strange, subscribe and stay close. There is a whole planet of them out there, thinking in ways we will never fully reach. And next time, we'll go and find another one. I'm Ren. Mind the quiet water. It is louder than you think.